Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making a necktie owl. It's fun and easy, so let's get started. To make the necktie owls, we'll need 5 ties. You don't need even a full tie, just pieces of ties will work. This one will be the back, this will be the front, and these will be the 2 sides. So the body is made up of 4 ties. For the back, this is the part that will come over and form his little forehead. So I'm going to measure up 9.5 inches from the tip and cut it off. All of these ties are from the thrift store. 9.5 is right before this little keeper, the little loop. So that's the back. Okay, for the front, I'm going to go to where the tie is 3 inches wide or a little more. I'll cut it here. And this tie has some stains, which I'm going to try to avoid. Up in here. Oh, there's one there. Oops, I don't know if I can avoid that. Let's see. I think we'll probably be okay. No one will notice that stain, right? Anyway, so this is 3.5 inches, and this is actually the bottom. This will be the bottom of the owl. And so we're going to measure up 7.5 and cut this off here. And this is the front of the owl. Okay, so here's the back, here's the front. Then for the 2 sides of the owl, I'm going to find where the tie is about 2 inches across, which is way up here. I'm going to measure 7 inches up. And then I'm going to match this up with this other tie. So these will be the 2 sides. All of these pieces have a certain taper. The fat part will be at the bottom and the narrow part will be at the top. This is the back. Here's one side, here's the other side, and here's the front. Now I'm going to sew these together on my machine, which is right here, with black thread, and I'm going to be using I think I'll use a feather stitch. I like to use a decorative stitch. We're going to sew these together, then we're going to sew them into, like a cylinder. It's helpful if we have sewn across the top the raw ends of each of these pieces before we get started. So I'm going to sew across the raw ends here, 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 and here. Not on this one, because this one is going to come over his forehead. All right, so I'm going to do that first. So what I'm going to do is sew very close to these edges. You can see where I stitched across the ends. And now I'm going to take my seam ripper and remove this tag. I think this tag is fine to leave this one, but I'm going to remove this one. Now I'm going to stitch up the center of each of these ties just along, I'm stitching from the wrong side, just along the center with a decorative stitch. I'm going to use a feather stitch. The feather stitching is done, and now I'm going to join these here, seam them together here, 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 again with a feather stitch. So I'll sew these just sending them through the machine side by side. I'm not putting them right sides together or anything. I'm just sending them straight through, flat, side by side, so that the feather stitch actually joins the ties together. Now joining this into a cylinder is a little bit tricky, and I've found the best way is to sew from the inside. So I will set these 2 edges side by side and sew about 1 inch, and then kind of reposition, sew about 1 inch, reposition, sew about 1 inch, and keep working all the way to the top. Here we go. Since I was sewing it from the inside, my project is now right side out, but I want it to be inside out because the next step is to gather up the bottom. So with a single strand of nice button and craft thread, I'm going to gather up the bottom. Big stitches, don't worry about how neat it is. I'm going to start right here at the center back and just gather. This is where you will see the wisdom of stitching first along the edge, because it can get really messy if you haven't secured that. So I'm just going to take big stitches. I use a thimble and just gathering it up all the way around. Now I'm going to pull this nice and tight, as tight as I can, and I'm glad I have this super strong thread. I'm going to wrap it, and remember I'm on the inside, I'm on the wrong side, and then I'm going to secure my thread. That looks good. Now I'm going to turn it right side out. And I think at this point you can sort of envision the size and the shape and the look of your owl. This part will come over like this. So he needs some weight in the bottom. So I'm going to use these little pellets. And I'm just going to start with a little bit of stuffing, just a tiny bit, because it's possible that the pellets could work their way through the center. I kind of doubt it, but I just want to put a piece of stuffing in there first. I'm kind of putting it right on the center, and then I'm going to add maybe about 1.5 cups of these pellets. It's about halfway. Can you see in there? Let's see. There you go. And then I'll stuff up to the top with regular polyfill. Now I'm going to gather up the top, and I'm going to start right here, about 1/4 inch in on this back tie. And then I'm going to stitch all the way around the front, and then to the opposite side again about 1/4 inch into the back tie. And then one more stitch just a little bit into that back tie. All right. I think I'm going to add a little bit more polyfill. Keep those pellets from creeping out. Now I'm pulling this tight, and it doesn't completely close that hole there, but this is going to come over, and we need a little bit of looseness in the back for this to come around. So I'm going to secure my thread, but I want you to see how it looks. It looks a little funny right now, but you can tell when it goes over, it's going to be fine. So it looks like this with this opening, and I will secure my thread. Now I'm going to take this, the back tie, and just fold it around to the front so that it comes down like the beak in the front, although we're going to add a piece for the beak, but it's just kind of like the forehead. And for now, I'm going to pin it. And then with a needle and thread, I'm going to tack down this fold here and here, leaving this edge open because that's where the button eyes will go. The button eyes are going to go right in there. So I'm going to stitch along here and along here with a single strand of thread. I will secure my knot inside here somewhere, Then just I'll stitch along the fold to about the corner there. And then I'll secure my thread, and then I'll repeat for the other side. I've sewn both sides, and now I want to just tack down this point. There's going to be a beak, a felt beak over the point, but I just want to make sure that I have it secured in the center of the seam. And this is all open along here for the button. Just a couple of stitches. These will be hidden by the felt beak. I use my die cutter to cut about a 2 1/4 inch circle from brown felt, and then from the little scrap I cut a beak shape. It's probably 3/4 of an inch long, and that's going to be tacked down right there at the point. And this is just going to be glued on the bottom to conceal that. Okay, now let's do the eyes. I just bought these today at Joann Fabrics. It's a little package of 8 yellow, I think that says 7/8 of an inch buttons, and these were these slimline 3/8 of an inch. These are black. I was looking for a different color, but I could only find black. We're gonna stack these. It's important that they have 2 holes. So there's 2 holes in each, and it's kind of fun to use a contrast thread, like maybe a white thread, or maybe I'll get a white thread. And then we're going to put those right under the edge like this. And it's really cute. Okay, I'm going to stack these buttons, and I want these holes, I'm going to use the white thread, right? So I'm going to stack the buttons, and I want the holes to be sort of at an angle like this, so they have a certain look. Not up and down, not side to side, but diagonal. Okay, good. This has a flat side and sort of a dome, and I'm going to have the dome on the outside just because it's shinier. And then this has sort of a cup and then a flat side, and I'm going to have the cup on the top. Some things are hard for me to do when I'm not holding my project really close, but this is the idea. So I'm going to sew this eye like this, and then I'm going to go across and do the opposite. I think just 1 or 2 stitches will be good enough. There's the first one. The edge of the black is just kind of touching the edge of the fabric. And see, it has that nice diagonal. And then let's see if I can get this one to match. That looks pretty good. I'm going to secure my thread and switch to black thread again. Since I'm using this nice button and craft thread, and I have 2 strands, I think a single stitch is going to be enough to hold the eyes. Now for the beak, I'm just going to add a tiny smudge of glue, but I'm still going to stitch it. So kind of like that. Maybe right on each corner here, right here. And here, on each corner, just a single stitch. Here and here. And I will secure my thread. To make the wings, measure up 4.5 inches from the point, the bottom point of the tie, and cut it straight across. Then open up the, open it up. I've got to remove this, okay? and take out any of the linings or stabilizers or anything you find in there. Then this piece will make 2 wings. So just cut up like this. This is one wing, this is the other. And it's kind of like a square, but you fold it right sides together and then seam up this edge. I'm going to pin and seam it. Then I'll turn it right side out. I'll use the tip of my needle to coax that point out. And then I'm going to press this flat. Here it is pressed flat, and then I'm going to fold it and gather up the top, and that will be the wing. And I'll repeat for the second piece. Now to create the wings, I'm going to fold this in half like this, and then I'm going to gather up this top edge. I have a single strand of my button and craft thread. So I'm going to fold this in half. These are just raw edges. And then I'm going to gather up the straight across those raw edges with my single strand of button and craft thread. That looks good. So I will secure it. And now with the long edge of this triangle, this wing piece toward the front, but right sides together, so like this, I'm going to tack this to the inside here. So it flops over like this and looks like a wing. So it's gathered, and I'm going to set it here, and then I'm just going to tack it. And it's still just the raw edges. You can try to tuck all those ends in and make it look really neat, but it's a lot of effort and a lot of layers to stitch through. So I'm just going to secure this little gathered edge here. And then I'll secure my thread and it'll kind of flap over like this. I like the wings to be about at the same level as the eyes. All right. I'll show you again. I'm going to fold this over. This is all raw edges at the top. And then I'll secure my thread, a single strand of that button and craft thread. You can use quilting thread if you like. And then I'm going to just gather across this top edge through both of these layers. I think it's actually 4 layers at this point. And then pull it tight and secure this little bundle. Just going back and forth through it. And then before I tie off my thread, I'm going to attach it to the side of the owl with the long edge toward the front, and then I'm flipping it upside down. So that gives a little dimension to the wing. I'm going to stitch it about where the eyes are, the same height as the eyes, and right here in the center of the tie. So I'm going to tack it here. Just sew through a few times and then I'll knot off my thread. The wings really add a lot of personality. All right, now we're going to make the feet. I almost forgot the feet. You'll need a pipe cleaner or a chenille stem, 12-inch chenille stem. This is a dark brown. You can use any color you like to create the feet. Fold it in half, kind of squeeze here at the tip here. That'll be like the middle toe or claw. And then one more time on each side, here and here. They don't have to be even. And then we're going to kind of twist this together. I'm going to twist these too. So twist all three of these and then kind of bend them like this. And this is kind of the leg. And now we're going to glue these to the bottom. I like them to cut, they're at an angle, but they're kind of toward the front. So here are the feet, and they'll be glued to the bottom. And then the circle of felt will be glued over them so that the wires don't poke anything. There's some glue. Some glue. That looks good. And now I will glue that felt on. This is so cute. And here are a couple of other examples of the necktie owls. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.